When making a fantastic burger, you need to think about the grade of beef that you're going to use. And we'll discuss that in another segment of the video. But you also need to think about what you want to add to enhance the flavor of the meat that you choose. So you can see here a wide selection of herbs and spices, other mix-ins, other meats, bacon, pepperoni, things like sour cream, brown sugar, different condiments. All of these things mixed into the burger can just enhance and add to the final product to make something really fantastic and out of this world. No matter what else you decide to put in your burger mixture, I do have a couple of basics that I recommend always having in there in some form. I would suggest for the best burger, you want to have some onion in your mixture and some garlic in your mixture. You can see there are a few different ways you can add both of those: fresh, dehydrated, or convenienced. The garlic in the jar is a fresher form of garlic, but it's already chopped up and ready to measure and add. So it's very convenient. Or even as simple as garlic powder or onion powder can enhance the flavor of your burger. So those are some basics that I would suggest that you always have. And then I would also suggest that you always have egg in your mixture, because egg helps to bind everything together, especially if you're going to mix more things in there than just the meat. You want to have that binding agent with the egg, and it has no egg flavor when it's finished, so that's not a problem. Worcestershire sauce, if you're using beef especially, it can be a nice flavor. It helps to keep it moist no matter what method you use to cook the burgers. And like I said, it adds that depth of beefy flavor to it. And then also mustard, just a little squirt or two of yellow mustard, teaspoon or so, tablespoon, can add a little tang, background flavor to your burger without having a real mustardy effect. Not the same as putting it on your finished burger. So those are just some basics that I would suggest always adding to your burger mixture, and then going beyond that to the other spices and mix-ins that we showcased. Before you even consider what spices, flavorings, or toppings you want to put on your burger or in your burger mixture, you need to think about the type of meat that you're going to use. And while you certainly could use ground chicken or ground turkey, we're going to address specifically in this video ground beef burgers. And if you choose a ground, you need to think about the ratio of leanness, the meat to fat. So you can see I have an 80%, 20% lean. That's obvious in the pre-wrapped packaging. And really that's not bad. You could do, I would not go with more fat than 20% in my burger though. The higher fat you go, just the more you pay for parts that are going to be wasted. And so we want to have a nice meaty burger that's not swimming in fat. My first choice, my preference is an 85-15 mixture. And if you have health concerns, you might want to consider a 90-10 mixture. But the lower you go in fat content, the flavor, when the fat goes, the flavor goes. So if you are using a leaner mixture, you will need to consider those mix-ins that you're using even more seriously to make up for moisture, which fat also provides in addition to flavor. So you'll need to make up for moisture and flavor loss that you're going to have from that leaner cut or that leaner grind of ground beef. And then another thing to mention while we're talking about beef is we want our burgers to read at 160 degrees Fahrenheit when they're done, to make sure that they are safe to eat. And so keep that in mind. If you have an instant read thermometer, that's the best way to tell. If you don't have an instant read thermometer, then your best way to tell is when juices run clear. So there should not be, when you lightly press on your burger, your juices should run clear. There should not be any pink or red liquid coming from the burger. When making my burger patties, I want to actually work with the meat and mixing it as little as possible. So I'm going to mix together all of the add-ins at the beginning, and then I'll mix my beef into that. So all the herbs, spices, and liquids I'm going to mix in the bowl first. So I have it, and I'm going to work with 2 pounds of ground beef today. I have 1 egg per pound. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of mustard per pound. And I'm going to measure that over a separate container. So there's my mustard. Now, in addition, I want to add about a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce per pound. Add that in. And you can see why I have that separate measure over container, because I don't want to contaminate. I don't want to get the extra that falls out of the spoon in the mixing bowl. So now, instead of a clove of garlic, I'm going to use my convenience product, and you can see that it says a half teaspoon equals approximately 1 clove. So I need a total of a teaspoon. Now for my garlic, I like garlic, so it might be slightly rounded, and that'll be just fine. I'm also going to work with a convenience onion product, and I'm going to use my minced onion. And for my 2 pounds, I'm going to add about a teaspoon for each pound. And then I also want to add some salt and some black pepper. Get the rest of that in there. So I'm going to add about a half teaspoon of black pepper per pound. About the same for salt. If you're concerned about sodium intake, you could skip the salt. And then to add a little kick, I'm just going to do a few dashes of red pepper. And let's see. So now we're ready to mix all of this up together. It's not going to look too pretty, but it's going to add some fabulous flavor to our burgers. In the meantime, I've been preheating my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, because that's how I'm going to prepare the burgers today. It's great in an environment where you don't have a grill available, that you can, because it allows you to cook a large number of burgers all at the same time. You could also cook your burgers in a skillet or on a grill. And the grill usually allows for many burgers at once, but a skillet is typically fairly limiting. You could, of course, use a griddle if you had one as well. So now that I have all of my condiment or liquid or spice mix-ins ready to go in my for my burgers, I'm going to add my beef and my solid mix-ins. So I have my 2 pounds of beef that I'm going to add in here. And then mixed into my burger, I am also going to add bacon crumbles. And I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup per pound of those. So in order to mix less, I'm going to start with these all at the same time. And I'm measuring over my bowl because if I get a few extra bacon crumbles, I don't think anybody enjoying the burgers that I plan to serve them to will complain. And then my last thing, instead of putting my cheese on top of my burgers, I'm going to mix my cheese into my burgers. So we're kind of making a stuffed style burger here. And I have about 2 cups of cheese in this bag. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. And that's about a cup per pound. Works out to about a 1/4 cup of cheese per burger because we're going to be making 1/4 pound burgers out of this mixture. So now we're ready to mix our burgers together. So now that we're ready to mix our burger ingredients together, honestly, I find the best way to mix it together is by hand. And that can feel a little interesting, to say the least. It can be kind of messy. So I do personally prefer to use gloves when I mix my beef mixture together. But you certainly don't have to. You could try this with a spoon, but I think you're just not going to be able to get the best mix of everything all throughout the beef. And you could even consider trying 2 different meats to mix together to create a different flavor of burger. So I just have 2 pounds of beef, ground beef, but you could certainly mix ground beef and a sausage, or ground beef, ground pork, ground lamb. Lots of different ways you can experiment. So many different ways you can make a great burger. It's just a matter of finding what you like more than anything. So once I feel like it's all pretty well mixed, I want to stop. I'm just going to kind of turn this over. Look in the center. And then I want to divide this into 8. And I'm just going to estimate. If I wanted to be precise, I could weigh it out on a scale, and a 1/4 pound burger should be about 4 ounces. So I'm just kind of imagine half of the mixture, 1/4 of the mixture, and then half of each of these sections would be about 1/8 of the mixture. And I can kind of estimate that as I go. And I'm just going to press it together. So it's about 3/4 of an inch thick, and place it on my prepared pan. I just have a baking sheet that I've lined with foil, and the foil is to make it clean up easily. It does have sides because grease will be released from the burgers, and I want that to stay contained. So I can't just put them on a cookie sheet with no sides. If I get to the end and I find that, with estimating, if I find that one of my burgers is significantly different in size, I can always take a little from one and add it to the other if needed. my mixture into 8 patties before I place them in the oven, or before I would put them on a grill or in a skillet. I'm going to add just a little indent in the center with my thumb. This helps them to come out flat and not puffy. Now, these burgers, if I was going to put them on a grill, I would definitely want to refrigerate them for a few hours or even overnight, just to kind of firm it all up so it holds together better. On this baking pan, it's not as big a deal because we're not going to flip them. There's not grates that they could fall through. But the other thing is, you could take these burgers and wrap them with parchment paper between them and put them in a freezer bag, and they'd be ready to go the next time you wanted to serve burgers without the work ahead. So now I'm going to put this in a 400-degree oven. They'll need 15 to 20 minutes, so I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes, and that's when I'm going to give them their first check. To make my burgers just a little more special, I'm going to lightly toast the bun, and I'm going to add just a little bit of butter to that, and then I'm going to place those butter side down in a skillet for just a couple of minutes, just enough to really toast that inner portion. Now that 15 minutes has passed, I want to check my burgers for doneness, and I have an instant read thermometer. I want to make sure that they're at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of these are reading into the 170s, but everything's over one. Oh, I got a couple, might not be quite 160. So we'll give them a couple more minutes in the oven just to make sure. So here's our finished burger. We've put together an awesome mixture to create an incredibly flavorful burger, ready to add your own style of personal toppings to make it yours to enjoy.